Okay, g'day guys. The Fury Guide. I've played this a fair bit during the week. I've not raided with it because I haven't seen a niche for it. We have plenty of AoEs in the guild, and thus far I am doing fairly well playing arms with the single target bosses. My numbers seem on the higher end of the guild, so I feel that's where I'm more valuable. And again, arms, just focus rage arms seems a bit more dominant. It may change, and Blizz have mentioned that Fury's going to get more tweaking. It's going to be looked at more, so perhaps this will become more relevant shortly. I just thought I'd quickly go over, I guess, the talents and the artifact, gear stats. I'll mention a bit of trinket stuff that I've discovered. Macros probably aren't going to feature too much for Fury because you don't really use any outside of the norm. Rotation, and you'll see my weak auras. And I'll make an execute video separate because the execute rotation is quite unique. So let's launch in Fury talents. So for doing dungeons and things like that, I stick with this build. So Mythic Pluses, dungeons, all that stuff. So Endless Rage is just the additional rage. I don't see a place for the other two. This is quite fine for leveling. You know, killing blows give you haste and movement speed. Fresh meat, I don't get it. Obviously, it's geared to keeping you enraged at the beginning of a fight, but I don't get it anyway. These ones here, you could easily drop double time for Shockwave when you're doing Mythic Pluses to help out with the CC and the AoE packs. But there's those two, Stormbolt, the fact that it doesn't do additional damage anymore, and it's only a single target stun. Shockwave just seems better. If you can hit 3 targets with Shockwave, it reduces the cooldown. Awesome. Avatar, Outburst, Wrecking Ball. Avatar I find better in almost every situation. Wrecking Ball, fine when it procs and you're doing lots of cleaving and whirlwinding, but because dungeons are made up of a combination of single target and AoE, I find this helps out when it's off cooldown on AoE, but it also helps out on the bosses. This generally only really helps out on the AoE. Outburst, stupid. Should be baseline. Piss that talent off. Warpaint, Bounding Strides, Furious Charge. Warpaint in general, to reduce the damage you take while you're enraged. While questing Furious Charge, you could argue that's good. I think I did use it a bit while leveling. And Bounding Strides, just for more leaping around. Not bad. But Warpaint, just in the event you might die. Carnage for this one here. Carnage pretty much all day, every day in dungeons. You're going to be doing a lot of cleaving, a lot of whirlwinding, a lot of... your rage is going to be going up and down all over the place. So having cheaper rampages is awesome. It's going to be good for trash and lots of different sort of encounters. Frothing Berserker, you shouldn't be hitting 100 rage because you may be potentially wasting rage. So, no. Massacre, execute phases are so short during mythics and dungeons and things like that, which is all I'm playing this for. Playing this spec for at the moment. It doesn't really have a place. I mean, the last boss in Ivashara is a laugh, but no, not really. In raids, this is probably the go-to. I imagine it is solidly the go-to. And if you have the execute ring, the legendary ring, which I'm still completely legendary-less, this would be probably pretty bloody amazing. So, but Carnage for anything that's not raiding. Next, Bloodbath, Frenzy, Inner Rage. I don't see any reason to take any of the others. Inner Rage all the way. Doesn't require you to be enraged to use Raging Blow, but gives it a cooldown. But that's fine. We've got other things to do. The rotation is pretty free and easy. You don't need this only when you're enraged. And it hits pretty bloody hard. Frenzy. Everybody hates Furious Slash. Don't want to push it any more than we have to. Bloodbath. You could find a space for it. If you're using this in a very heavy cleave AoE situation, maybe, but in a rage generally, I'm just sticking with that. The last one, Dragon's Roar, Reckless Abandon, Bladestorm. Bladestorm is probably okay. It's got too high of a cooldown though, in my opinion. It should stay at 1 minute. Dragon's Roar is like a mini sort of Colossus Smash. You sync this always with your cooldowns, and it's the way to go. And on a little funny side note, it doesn't even have to hit the target. If you sort of cock it up and use it too early and doesn't hit anything, you'll still get the buff on yourself. Reckless Abandon, I like this ability, but I haven't played much with it. But I think keep an eye on it. Maybe it should theoretically allow for some mental burst during your battle cry phases, because I guess you could have a full rage bar, you know, blow all of that 100 rage there, and then go straight into battle cry with a full rage bar. Yeah, I'd have to think more about it. But anyway, that's the talents. My gear, now you got to keep in mind I've pretty much solely been playing arms for the first month or so. So this gear is really a mixture of arms gear and just stuff I've picked up. So, you know, the weapons, I look for gear that's got haste on it when I'm playing Fury, when I'm looking for Fury, and the secondary stat is just whatever I get. So stuff like this, Haste Mastery, but that's my arms gear. Haste Mastery, Haste Verse, that's my arms gear. Haste Crit, that's my arms gear. Haste Mastery, Haste Verse, Haste Crit Haste, Haste Crit, you know, this sort of stuff. There's the ring from Quarter Stars that increases your auto attack damage. Stat Stick, Horn of Valor. I don't know if this is the best, but I was playing around with it. My artifact weapon, now I spec this like I did in beta and in alpha, and realised fairly quickly that I cocked it up. So obviously you start here and you take this path here, so go past to get your bigger rampages and things like that. Don't be like me, don't go back on yourself and get Rage of the Valajar. Ignore these two and go straight down to get these two. And the idea is you want to get Juggernaut, Odin's Champion, but also you want to take Helia's Wrath to get a shorter cooldown battle cry, so that it syncs up better with your 45-second Odin's Fury and your what's it called, Dragon's Roar. And then you also want to get Sense Death for raiding, so that your execute has a chance to make execute cost nothing, your next execute cost nothing. Handy for stacking up Juggernaut stacks in the final phase. My relics are just whatever I've gotten that I haven't wanted to use for my arms weapon. What are they? 40, 42 and 40. You know, they're just whatever I've got. I think the ones you'd be looking for are ones that increase stuff like Raging Blow damage, Rampage damage, the critical damage you deal here, you know, this sort of stuff, all the damage you deal when enraged, that sort of stuff would be tasty. So yeah, that's that. Next, trinkets. I'm not too sure about trinkets for Fury. The Ursault trinket sounds okay because auto attacks, and so much of our damage as Fury is auto attacks. But I think the chance on crit, instead of just being guaranteed on crit, might devalue it. I'm basically sticking to stuff that has haste and haste procs. The more haste you have as Fury, and I know this from doing the Archway dungeon. I was doing a Mythic plus Archway, and our Warlock was you can enslave one of the demons in there, and the demon has a buff that can be cast on any players, and it increases your haste by an absurd amount. And I was running through there with 60% haste because he kept putting the buff on me for trash, and the damage increase is real. It's amazing. So I feel like haste, having high haste and haste procs, are ridiculous. That's just so good. So I would be looking for trinkets that give haste procs and static haste. The higher you can get it, I think is going to be really good. I haven't gone through and looked at any haste proc trinkets. I'm sure they're out there, so do your best to search for that sort of stuff. Macros, I don't really use any macros. Oops. Oh, Christ. Macros. For Fury, the only macros I've got, I had a macro to, and I'll find it here if I've still got it. That's just a cooldown macro to cast everything. It's also got Mortal Strike in it because when I'm using my cooldowns for my Arms Warrior, generally I want to be using the same GCD for casting Mortal Strike because I've got a 3-stack Focus Rage. Anyway, I don't want to mention that, but all your cooldowns for whatever, so Avatar, Bloodbath, Battle Cry, the trinket that I'm using at the time, and Mortal Strike is for my Arm spec. All that's just here. I have a Bloodthirst macro so that it will cancel Aura Blade Storm. So if I Blade Storm and I need to get rid of Blade Storm, I sort of don't want to do the full duration Blade Storm, it'll cancel it, and it has a start attack, so if I'm target switching, it'll actually put me into battle. So see here, if I'm close enough to it, I'm not actually attacking, but if I hit Bloodthirst, it'll start attack me. Yeah, and if I target switch, I'm not attacking. Well, sometimes when you target switch or when you tab target, you're not attacking. But I hit that macro and it puts me into start attack. You know, it's just one of those things that sometimes you notice you switch targets and you're not attacking. Hitting Bloodthirst will either cast Bloodthirst, but if it's on cooldown, it'll just make you start attack. That's about it for Fury. I don't really use any macros, so you know, that's it. Rotation and weak auras. I've got a weak aura video, so you're best to watch that. The only sort of Fury specific weak auras are my artifact ability, and that's really about it. But my weak auras, you'll see it when I'm doing sort of in combat. They're just visual cues, and you can get a copy of this if you want to have a bit of a play. The rotation itself, though, is pretty straightforward. The whole sort of method of this is you want to be trying to be enraged as much as possible. Now you only get enraged by crit Bloodthirsts and casting Rampage. See, Rampage will make you enraged. Now while you're enraged, all your damage is increased by a flat amount here. I'll show you. Where's the mastery? Mastery, there you go. So the more mastery you've got, the more damage you deal whilst enraged, by a set percentage. And it also increases your attack speed. I should probably mention as well. So when I'm enraged, your attack speed's increased. And the downside of that is you also take into increased damage. And if you spect how I'm spec'd, you'll take 20% less damage. Sorry, you'll take 10% less damage, because you normally take 30% more damage when you're enraged. If you take the War Paint, you'll only take 20%. But anyway, I'm sort of digressing a bit from what I was going to talk about. Rotation. So the whole point is trying to be enraged and not cap on rage. So you'll be bloodthirsting on pretty much every cooldown, and when you get high enough, you will be bashing in your rampage to get enraged. Now, the other abilities you can use, of course, is Raging Blow. There's your Bloodthirst. There's your Rampage. Raging Blow, Bloodthirst. It's all quite quick, which is awesome. It makes the spec really fun to play. But you kind of just can't bash in whatever's off cooldown. You do have to think a little bit about it. So what I do is look at what each ability's doing. If Bloodthirst enrages you, then the next thing you want to hit at 9 times out of 10 is going to be Raging Blow. Because you want the damage buff from being enraged on Raging Blow. If you're in a situation where your rage is high enough, so let's just get high enough. So if I Bloodthirst and I don't enrage, I'm not going to Raging Blow. I'm going to Rampage first, because Rampage will make me enraged. Then I'll Raging Blow to get the benefit. So I'll do that again. No enrage, I'm going to Rampage, then Raging Blow. That's going to yield better results than going Bloodthirst, Raging Blow, then Rampage. Because I've hit one ability in that string where I wasn't enraged. So I'm not enraged. I shouldn't do this because it's not going to benefit from the enrage buff. I'm enraged though, but yeah, let's do it. And then let's rampage. Again, I can squeeze it in. So these are little things you got to think about. Now, the exceptions to these rules is if, I guess one, if I'm way too low on rage. So say I can't rampage. I'm not enraged, but I can't use this because I'm too low. I'm going to bash out Raging Blow anyway. Because, you know, what are you going to do? Nothing. You still want to be doing something. But where you can, rampage first, then Raging Blow. The thing to remember about the rampage ability is that even though its animation, look at its animation, blah 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 blah, it goes on for a while, it doesn't mean you can't keep attacking whilst that animation is going. So the thing to do is, I'll show you, wait for everything to be off cooldown. You want to rampage and you want to squish an ability with it at the end of its animation. So don't wait for it to be over, squish an ability with it. The ability you squish is just going to dictate, it's just going to be decided by what's off cooldown. You're either going to rampage with it or you're going to bloodthirst with it. Okay? Easy, easy. What else? Furious Slash. There will be very rare GCDs where everything's on cooldown, like this, like now. Furious Slash. And Furious Slash is going to give you that stacking buff that makes your that gives your next bloodthirst a higher chance to crit. So where you've got absolutely nothing, which like I said, it won't come up often, but here you go. Furious Slash. You know him? So that's that. That's why I like Fury, it's so free and easy. It's just fucking so much fun to play. So that's all of that stuff. The burst, I think, is quite interesting. The burst can be done probably two ways. Both of them quite similar. So when you start a fight, you're going to put down Dragon's Roar first. Dragon's Roar will give you the 20% buff for 6 seconds. Once you've popped your Dragon's Roar, so once you're that and you get your buff up, the next things you want to do are the highest. You want to try and squeeze as much damage as you can into that guaranteed crit window because you're going to pop all your cooldowns, yeah? So what you want to do is cooldowns, everything, trinket. You know, you would have already had your pot rolling before the pool, all that sort of stuff. And potions of the Old God, by the way. Old God, Old War. I know I forgot to mention that in my arms guide, but hopefully people pick up on that. Then you're going to be wanting to pop everything you can. And the best way I've found to do it is, like I said, Dragon's Roar with all your cooldowns, because these are all off the GCD, so you can go Dragon's Roar and everything at the same time. Then I go Bloodthirst first, because it must crit, you must get enraged for this opener. Without the enrage, you're losing a ton of damage, because remember your mastery, you're going to lose 30% of your damage if you're not enraged. So once you're enraged, the things that you want to try and squeeze into the rest of Battlecry are Odin's Fury. You want to squeeze a Raging Blow, and then depending on where you are, you've got one GCD left. Can you rampage? If you can't, then you're simply going to bloodthirst again, and that's the burst. Once that's over, then you just go into the rotation, the priority rotation. So to see what she looks like, you're going to charge in, you're going to pop everything, that, that's it. Now depending on how you go for procs and all that sort of stuff, I've seen this burst go up to close to 1 million, I guess. And on pools where there's ads sort of around the boss, it's ridiculous. It's so massive, yeah. So that's how I do the opener. You know, as long as you follow your rule where your first GCDs are going to be this with your cooldowns and Bloodthirst, what you do after that doesn't matter so much. You can either Odin's Fury Rampage or you can Rampage Odin's Fury. I tend to Odin's Fury first because I want as much of Odin's Fury, the dots and everything, in my what's it called? Battle cry. I haven't tested it enough to wonder if Rampage, Odin's Fury. I'm wondering if you can get 2 Raging Blows in, perhaps with enough haste and lust you probably will. So perhaps I think I'd be going, cooldowns, Dragon's Roar, Bloodthirst, Raging Blow, Odin's Fury, Bloodthirst, Raging Blow. Maybe at high haste you can get all those things in. But that's how I do the opener. AoE is pretty straightforward. You're going to be whirlwinding, you're going to be rampaging to cleave, and then you're just doing your single target. Whirlwind. That's your meat cleaver stacks. Bloodthirst will cleave as well as rampage. Nothing too special there. That's pretty much all she wrote. The execute rotation I'll put in a separate video because I need a target tell me that I can execute, which means back out to the urgent tournament grounds. But the execute rotation is all about massacre. There's Big Mass. It's all about massacre, and it's all about, just in case he says something inappropriate like he likes to, it's all about massacre, yeah. So your crit executes give you free rampages, rampage gives you free enrage, and it's also all about juggernaut. Every time you execute, you get bigger executes, as long as you cast them within 6 seconds of one another. So that's it, that's all she wrote. I hope this helped. I know these videos aren't getting any more professional, perhaps they will, but hey, I'm trying to be as accurate as I can with the information, so enjoy, take it easy.